Hello everyone, my name is Mr. Ming, and this is my first educational video on YouTube. With my school and many schools around the world shut down right now due to the coronavirus, hopefully this will provide you with at least some educational information, or at minimum, some entertainment while you're stuck inside. I can tell you I am in full quarantine mode, from my unshaven face all the way down to my SpongeBob slippers. So with all that being said, let's dive in. Today, I'm going to start where my 6th grade social studies class left off, the Greek mind, and specifically Greek philosophers. The word philosophy is actually a Greek word that means love of wisdom. Greek philosophers were instrumental in the development of many subject areas still taught today, including history, political science, biology, and logic. Now, my personal Mount Rushmore Greek philosophers definitely includes Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, and Galifianakis.
There were two of us in the wolf pack. I was alone first in the pack, and then Doug joined in later.
He understood the importance of going from a one-man wolf pack to a wolf pack of many. No disrespect to Pythagoras on this list. Love your theorem. Terrible at geometry. And if you don't believe me, ask my sophomore geometry teacher. D minus, D minus, D minus, D minus. So in this video, we're going to focus on Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Number 1, Socrates.
Socrates. The only true wisdom consists in knowing that you know nothing. That's us, dude.
Now, you may be feeling like Bill and Ted, but let me tell you a few things about Socrates. He was actually a trained sculptor that spent most of his time teaching, and by many is considered the father of Western philosophy. He created a new way of questioning called the Socratic method, which involved asking deep questions and waiting for his students to respond. He did not lecture or keep his ideas in writing. He believed in absolute truth, and that all real knowledge was within each person. The problem for Socrates was that when Athens lost the Peloponnesian War, people were no longer permitted to question their leaders, and open debate was no longer allowed. He believed so strongly in his method, he continued teaching this way though. This led him to being arrested in 399 BC. He was charged with urging young people to rebel against the government and was sentenced to death. He was actually given the opportunity to leave Athens and live, but he thought obeying the law was more important than his life. Surrounded by students and friends, he gave one last speech, and then drank poison to carry out his death sentence. One final fact about Socrates, he actually taught the next person on our list. Plato!
Squishy, swirly spaghetti on your plate.
Not that kind of Plato. A student of Socrates, Plato himself became a teacher and founded a school called the Academy in Athens. He named it the Academy because the land on which it was built was owned by a man named Academos. Plato did keep his ideas in writing, and in one work called the Republic, he organized society into 3 groups: philosopher kings, warriors, and the rest of the people? He must have been in a hurry or something when he got to name the 3rd group. Hey, what are you going to call group 1? Philosopher kings. Well, hey, what are you going to call group 2? Warriors. Well, what are you going to call group 3? Man, I don't know. I gotta get down to the Acropolis in like 10 minutes. Just call it whatever and wrap it up, Karen. The bottom group were responsible for making essential items for society like food, shelter, and clothing. He didn't think common people were smart enough to make decisions. He believed important decisions should be left to philosopher kings. Now, while he didn't believe in democracy, he was really ahead of his times in terms of women's rights. He believed women should have every opportunity that men did in terms of education and jobs. Plato was also at 2 different points active in military and was actually decorated for bravery during his service time. On a side note, it turns out his picture in our textbook actually looks like me with a Snapchat filter.
Plato actually had a very famous quote that went a little something like this. Love is a very serious mental illness. And based on all the stuff my wife puts up with and still comes home to me, I'd have to say he's right.
I actually think he said mental disease, but you catch my drift. Plato wasn't too high on romance, and believed that 2 people really inspired each other, their spirituality would bring them closer to their god, and the physical stuff would not be needed. His beliefs led others to coin the term platonic friendship, based off his writings and taken from his name. Platonic friendship can be defined as like literally just friends. One of Plato's friends and most famous student is the next person on our list. The next and final person on our list is Aristotle. Aristotle is arguably the most influential philosopher of all time. His ideas had a profound ripple effect on modern science and government that are still seen today. He followed the path of Plato and opened a school called the Lyceum, where he later taught Alexander the Great. Aristotle wrote tons of works about topics like government and astronomy. He loved science, and besides studying the stars, he began organizing living things based on their similarities and differences. This method was instrumental in the development of modern science. His writings on government are incredibly relevant still today. From our textbook, Discovering Our Past, A History of the World from McGraw-Hill. Like Plato, Aristotle also wrote about government. He studied and compared the governments of different city-states and hoped to find the best political system. In his book Politics, Aristotle divided government into 3 parts. The first was monarchy, or rule by one person. The second was oligarchy, which is ruled by a few people. And the third type was democracy, or rule by many. Aristotle believed the best government had features of all 3. A chief executive would serve as the head of state, a council or legislator would assist this leader and be supported by the people. Aristotle's ideas influenced the way Europeans and Americans thought about government. The authors of the United States Constitution, like Aristotle, believe that no one person or group should have too much power. It is amazing to think 3 of the greatest minds in history are so closely connected. As teachers and students of each other, I think it's important to note that even though they are connected, their main focuses are very different from each other. This in itself is an important lesson. While we should revere the works of those before us, it is important to continue to learn and grow, as individuals and society. We can disagree with each other, even our mentors, and still be respectful towards each other. I'll end this video with one of my favorite quotes from a modern-day philosopher, which seems appropriate at this time. Tupac Shakur stated, "The seed must grow, regardless of the fact that it's planted in stone." Right now, with many of us stuck at home, it may feel like you're planted in stone. Continue to learn, continue to grow, and eventually we'll break through. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Please leave comments with suggestions of what worked and what didn't, and maybe I'll post some more in the future. Everyone take care of yourself, and thanks for watching.